Now then, where are my notes? I've lost my notes. If you are in pain while you're watching this video and you're trying to find what the big revelation is, I'm going to leave a time code to that in the description below so you can get to it as quickly as possible and not have to watch or listen to anything more than you need to. If you're currently not in pain and you are interested in what I found out to be the biggest trigger of my migraines after 25-30 years, then please do watch as much of this video as you can, because the more people who watch it, the more chance there is that YouTube is going to promote it and hopefully help more people get out of pain. And if you're new to the channel and you're wondering where the caravan or the camper van is, I'll just explain that sometimes I do shoot off and do the occasional random video, for example, living simply. However, many people have asked me to do the what I eat in a day video while I'm on the road with the caravan, so in order to set a context for that, I do need to run through this first. So for those of you who've never watched this channel before, don't know me, I'm Andrew, this is my dog Dougal. My brother and my mother and we've all suffered migraines our entire lives. While I was in my 20s, I would lose about 8 to 9 migraine days per month. In my mid-40s, I would say I peaked and I touched chronic migraine, sometimes losing about 15 days per month. Let me be clear that I am not medically qualified whatsoever. So if you have any health issues or before you change your diet, you must see a doctor. What I do have is experience, and I'd like to draw on that experience and share it with you. Migraineurs watching this will be used to all the frustration and torment of not being able to plan anything, shrinking their lives to mitigate any migraine attacks, and the scary nights where you're in so much pain you wonder whether or not to call an ambulance. Of course, not all the days lost are lost to pain, as many are also lost to the physical and mental exhaustion that follow an attack. We are all different, and what works for me might not work for you. As a migrainer myself, I know how disappointing all the false hope can feel. But I really hope that by sharing what has worked for me might help others too. My brother and my mother have done a lot of tests and trials. I've tried many alternative therapies myself. I've tried things like acupuncture, osteopathy, and I remember once distinctly I went to an acupuncture session with a migraine, and the therapist, she just panicked and just jabbing needles in all over the place. And another thing I did was I even trained to do my Reiki level 1. The irony being that while I was training, I had a migraine, and even a very gifted Reiki healer couldn't do anything about it. I'm assuming you already live your life doing all the things like moderate or zero alcohol intake, trying to maintain good sleep hygiene, drinking lots of water, shrinking your social life. As we all know, it all helps a little. 3 years ago, I quit a shift work job to clean up my sleep hygiene. I went fully plant-based with my diet, and that all really helped. I went back down to about 8 migraine days a month, which was a substantial improvement. However, I did have a couple of 9-day corkers in there as well. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you'll have met my very dear friend Shana. Last summer, Shana introduced me to an app called Curable, and that made a significant difference. I went down to an average of about 5 migraine days a month. I was really starting to get my life back. So what is Curable? Curable is TMS, mind-body programming. It's something that's well worth considering if you have something like migraine, fibromyalgia, nerve pain, anything like that. Rather than go into it now, I'm going to link in the description below an article in TechCrunch. That's right, TechCrunch, because the author, his wife, she tried Curable. She was a chronic migraine sufferer, and after using the Curable app, she got her life back, and the author got his wife back. I think I paid about £50 for a year's subscription to Curable, which is about the same as one alternative therapy session. But downloading the app is not enough. You've got to do the work, but it does reap dividends. However, my greatest revelation came when I moved to Scotland just over 6 months ago. While registering with the local doctor, it was discovered that I had extremely high blood pressure. On the surface, that would seem to be a nonsense, as I don't smoke, I'm not overweight, there's no history in my family, I'm on a plant-based diet, I do all the things. But upon further examination, I realised that my diet needed cleaning up. Yes, I ate a plant-based diet, but I was what is sometimes called a Glasgow vegan. As all the big food chains increased their vegan offering, I felt it my duty to support their decision, and I took every opportunity to stuff my face with a Greggs vegan sausage roll, a Burger King Rebel burger and a KFC chicken-free burger, all washed down with copious amounts of full-fat, full-sugar, full-caffeine Coke. And yes, I've done the whole caffeine-free thing for 2 years. It didn't work. I needed to clean up my diet, so I imposed a junk food ban. No burgers, no chips, no cakes, no sugary drinks, no biscuits, just good, healthy, wholesome food. I went through the entire month of March without a headache. During that time, I started running and did the Couch to 5K program. I'd already done that 2 years ago to completion to help with my migraines. It didn't work, so I stopped running. But now, running was a means to bring down my blood pressure. In addition, I was now living in the stunning Outer Hebrides during lockdown, and it became an enjoyable sanity saviour. The month of March, of course, saw the beginning of the current pandemic in the UK. I had driven all the way down to Dover with my caravan and I had jobs lined up, but these jobs got cancelled and confusion reigned. Do you remember how scared, confused and anxious we all were when the situation changed from hour to hour? During that time, I also had to dash back to the Hebrides, 3 days with a caravan, and at the same time do a second relay of my house move. Stress and anxiety were at peak levels. As they say, life is what happens when you've made other plans. Yet I stuck to my diet and exercise regime. No headache. I got home and I went into self-isolation for 14 days. The very dear friends of mine down the road, they brought my food for me, and about a week into the self-isolation, they brought me some chocolate brownie. Hurrah! I thought one bit of brownie won't hurt. After having the chocolate brownie, the next day I was dreadful. That night the migraine came on and I was in bed for 3 days. It took me a further 3 days to recover from the migraine. I knew I'd had brownies before, they'd cause migraines, but chocolate is not a trigger for me. So I did some investigation and I found a page from the Migraine Trust, and that explained something they called reactive hypoglycaemia. Those of you living with diabetes are probably nodding sagely at this point. So what is reactive hypoglycaemia? Basically, if you have a sugar spike in your diet, that could come from a sugary drink, it could come from an orange juice or cake, then your blood glucose levels will shoot up, your blood will produce a lot of insulin to try and counteract that, but then of course the blood glucose levels will crash back down again, the insulin levels are still up here, and woohoo, hello migraine trigger. It's actually a very common migraine trigger. We know we shouldn't skip meals, and that's the reason why this hypoglycemia. But reactive hypoglycemia is from having too much of a sugar spike, and I suddenly realised that was the problem. I shall leave a link to the Migraine Trust and the page all about hypoglycemia in the description below. With hindsight, everything became clear. I realised why I had encountered so many attacks during holidays to the Hebrides. It wasn't the relief of the stress, it was the afternoon tea and cake I used to have. Suddenly, it made sense why just one beer or one bourbon and coke could trigger a migraine, and yet one gin and tonic with a meal didn't. It was the sugar in the beer and in the coke. The migraines after a long drive, they were nothing to do with the stress of the road and everything to do with the cake and chocolate and the soft drinks that I'd boost myself with along the way. Likewise, stressful situations. Only this week I had a crazy mad stressful week where everything happened at once, but I did not reach for the biscuits and the cake, and I got through it without a migraine. I'm filming this now at the end of July. since that attack in April, I had one further attack in June, so migraine hasn't gone away, but I can reduce the severity of the attacks by watching my diet even when I'm suffering with a migraine attack. Despite wanting Coke or chocolate or cake or anything sweet during an attack, I satisfy the craving now with fruit, and I freshen my dry mouth with fruit or with water. And that is the key, trying to keep your blood glucose level constant. It's really not that difficult. You don't need to exclude your favourite things, but you might need to change slightly what you have and when you eat it. For example, brownies are 70% sugar, so instead of brownie, I now have either a scone or possibly a slice of tea bread straight after my lunch. Instead of cheese on white toast for lunch, why not have beans on granary toast? Juices and soft drinks, foods with a lot of added sugar are the only thing I have banned. I will never knowingly consume aspartame or any other artificial sweetener, so diet sodas are also out. Regular soft drinks and juices are chock full of sugar. Instead of orange juice with your breakfast, just eat the whole orange. So over the past 5 months, I have lost only 8 days to migraine. That is fewer than 2 days per month. I have not taken a single paracetamol, aspirin, sumatriptan or any other pain medication for 5 months. I've been extremely lucky in as much as I've been able to rest and endure the migraine and let it play out rather than need to manage the attacks and keep going with medication. Over the next few months, I'll be sharing some recipes with you about the simple things I make. I'll do a video about what I eat in a day. In the meantime, there are tons of resources out there and a load of videos on YouTube all about giving up added sugar. Words can't adequately express just how much this means to me. I finally feel at the age of 50 I've got my life back, and I'm finally letting myself get excited and motivated when I see something that inspires me, and that is just massive. As I said before, we're all different. What works for me might not work for you, and I really don't want to cause false hope. After being a lifelong migraine sufferer at the age of 50, to have discovered that a combination of Curable and the discovery of reactive hypoglycaemia as a trigger have just been fantastic, and now I can really get on with my life. So I hope you found this interesting and useful, and maybe it could also help possibly with other things like fibromyalgia, nerve pain or whatever. It's certainly worth giving it a shot. And even if you're not in chronic pain, sometimes giving up sugar can make you just feel better. You know, those days where we all just feel, oh, I can't be bothered. Maybe give it a try, and you don't have to give it up completely. Just as I say, swap juices for whole fruits, get rid of sodas and just drink water and see how you feel. It's worth a try. So, Dougal, it's time to finish the video. I know you're enjoying the sunshine, it's beautiful. I really need to fix the roof, don't you? Dougal, can you come and say goodbye to everybody? Dougal, come on, up. There we go, right. Oh. So, as I say, something a little bit different this week, just because it's very important to me, and it's going to set the scene now for the what I eat in a day video, and maybe some recipes after that. Hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, folks, you know what to do. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't already, and it just leaves me to say, from Dougal and from me, thanks for tuning in. There. What do you reckon, Dougal? You happy to get your dad back? And I really need to fix the hole in that roof, don't I? Smile. Smile. He never smiles.